Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Failures to Fortunes podcast, the show where we fearlessly dive into the untold stories of real estate investors' greatest setbacks and how they turned those failures into resounding successes. I'm your host, Kate Berry, and we're talking with real estate investors across the country to learn exactly how and why they failed and how they took that failure and turned it into a powerful lesson for their business. So come along with me, Kate Berry, on this transformative journey from failure to fortune. I invite you to join our supportive community where together we can inspire, educate, and motivate each other to achieve all of our real estate investing goals. Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Failures to Fortunes podcast. I'm your host, Kate Berry, and on this show, we dive deep into the journeys of real estate investors and agents who have turned their failures into fortunes. We are here today with BreAnna Finco. She is the owner of Provian Investments and Finko, who used real estate investing to be able to fire her boss to live the life of her dreams. Welcome, BreAnna. We're so excited to have you.
Hi, welcome, Kate, and thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. You come with such a wealth of knowledge and recent experience of getting into real estate investing, and we're excited to hear your story.
Well, I'm excited to share it.
So tell us about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? How'd you get started in real estate?
Yeah, even though I live in Vermont, I'm not from Vermont. I'm a native Texan, and my family up and moved during the pandemic because we weren't happy in Houston. It was a little too big for us. And I work in corporate America. And so during the pandemic, I stopped sitting in traffic and going and working inside of a cubicle and slowed it down and started working from home. And so that's when we started doing a lot of soul searching about the type of life we're living and why we're living it. And I got really present to, I'm grateful for my career in corporate America. It's in health insurance, but I'm not fulfilled. It doesn't get me going.
Right. Yes, right.
My son, Addison, when he was in kindergarten, he's almost 12 now. But when he was in kindergarten, he brought home a picture that he drew at school. I was not in it, Kate.
Oh.
I was in a box at the very bottom of the page by myself because mom was at work.
Oh man, that is like that. I'm a mom too, and that is so heart-wrenching because I think we can all agree and relate to that feeling of not being able to feeling like you're failing in all aspects of your life, even though you're trying as hard as you absolutely can. That's tough.
Yeah. So I got really present to like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I dedicating myself to this career to provide for a family that I never see?
Right. Right. Yeah. You're just going
yeah.
around that snake eating its own tail, right?
Exactly. So then the pandemic happened and we ended up finding our way to Vermont and found my forever home. Like, I don't think I'm ever leaving here. Even if y'all want me to leave, I'm not going anywhere. But yeah, once we bought our forever house in Vermont, don't laugh, stereotypical Vermont style, sipping on my tea in my rocking chair on my front porch while reading my book.
Yeah.
And I picked up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That is where it all began. And I was like, okay, so if I want freedom of time to live my life the way I want to live it, I have to get rid of the W-2.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
And passive, that book is so, if anyone is listening to this and you have not read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you must
do it.
Listen to the end of this, then go get that book immediately. Yeah, the concept is so simple, right? Purchase cash producing assets.
Exactly.
And what is real estate?
A cash producing asset.
Yeah.
And it's
clicked for you.
Real estate. It started with business. Okay. I need the assets for the cash flow. I need a business. Girl, I was going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole about what my business could be because I was so not entrepreneurial type. I grew up very much be a good girl, go to school and get good grades so that you can go to a good college and get a good job and make good money so that you can retire happy.
That's right.
That's what I was doing.
That's what everyone is told to do. We are all told that this is the way
to have a successful or a fulfilled life.
But it
Not
was not
so
fulfilling
much.
at all. Yeah, no. So I was contemplating like Amazon wholesale stuff, like, buy low, sell high on Amazon. We had just moved from Houston, Texas to Vermont. So the one thing I miss most about Texas is the Tex-Mex.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I love Vermont, but there's no good
There's
Mexican food here.
none. It's so true.
Like, let's do a taco truck.
Right.
I'm like, girl, nobody's got time for that.
No. It's right.
But
So what
then I
got
found
you
the real
into
estate.
real estate? How did you get from business into real estate?
Well, because I was Googling and just trying to find my way, and the algorithm found me and started showing me stuff about real estate investing as a side hustle, earning extra money. And so then I just went down the real estate rabbit hole and started figuring out what you do, not just from the traditional side as an agent, but as an investor. And
Right.
I was learning about all of these strategies and terms that I never even knew what they were before.
Right.
But what I did know is that you could use real estate for the appreciation one. I was very familiar with that. But then when you structure it as a business, you've got the depreciation on the tax side. And then there's the cash flow, of course, if you're doing like the rental style. And then, of course, the long term legacy to leave behind for my kiddos. So that's why I'm doing this to begin with.
Yep.
So it's like the more I kept thinking about real estate, it was just check, check, like every single box. It just fit the mark.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this is the way. This is what I'm doing.
Nice. And I know it's so funny. I think everyone I talk to that, gets that real estate bug, it's because things start clicking and making sense in their mind.
Yeah.
And I think if more were exposed to the benefits of real estate investing, they would become that excited about it. That we do have to kind of dig deep a little bit to find this information. So you started doing your research, got excited about real estate. So what happened next?
Well, then I found who's my now mentor, Zach Ullman. I found one of his Facebook ads. You're going to hear me talk about the algorithm a lot. It
Yeah.
got good. It led me right to him. And so Zach Ullman has created his own community of real estate investors. He started literally on site, in person, hosting weekly masterminds in Phoenix, Arizona. And then with the pandemic, he couldn't do that anymore and had to move on to the world of Zoom. And so that's where I found him when he was doing the online meetups and the masterminds and whatnot. So I went all in and I engaged with that community. I just started soaking up all the education I could get, just getting into every single mastermind, like metaphorically looking over the more experienced investor's shoulder,
Sure. Yeah.
and just trying to learn as much as I could. And I really wanted that first deal. And I was like, all right, I want to fire my boss. Let's go. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yes. So you were in the place where you were thinking, okay, I need to get one deal and I can fire my boss. Is that where your mindset
Oh, no,
was?
I was like, I need to get the first deal to get the ball rolling. Like I didn't want it to be a process. I just wanted to jump in and go. Because I joined the Alliance community with that. It was, oh, don't laugh. It was November 15th, 2021, which was my husband and I 13 wedding anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't go out to dinner. There was no romance or anything like that. No, we were signing up for real estate investing, education, and community.
That's exciting though. I mean, that's fun because you're starting to, you're taking steps. You're really taking steps towards that goal once
Yeah.
you realize that it was something that you wanted to do and that made sense, you were interested in. And so tell us about that first deal. How did you find it? What were you looking for something specifically? And
Man,
what
again,
comes
the
across your
community,
desk?
like I am so grateful for I call my team, but they don't work for Provian. We're all our individual investors, but teamwork makes the dream work. And so I joined November 15th and I told Zach, I want my first deal before the end of the year.
Nice.
Like that's
So
really
45 days.
Yeah. He was trying to tell me in all the nice ways, like, that's not realistic for him. So I was really wanted that first deal and I was talking all about it. I didn't even know what I wanted at first. But then he walked me through what we call a vision to reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very structured process now. It turns out I was the guinea pig. I was the very first vision to reality. But now the way we've got it structured is we take our investors on our team and we take stock of all of their currencies.
Yes.
So money is a very obvious currency, but someone might not have money. They might have time or knowledge or relationships, stuff like that.
Right.
And so then identifying what they have now, what is their vision, their end goal, where are they going? And then how do we leverage what they have, what's available through real estate to get them to the goal?
Right.
So this is where it's kind of funny. As much as you're going to hear me talk about firing my boss, that was the one thing that Zach recommended I do. He was like, I know you hate the W-2, but you've got a really good one. You make good money. You've got access to credit and capital. You're smart. You know how to market. You're organized. The management. He was like, leverage all of that. Just buy a property on the MLS. Stop trying to get creative and direct to sellers. Buy something on the MLS. Turn it into a vacation rental. And then use that cash flow to replace your paycheck.
Nice. Boom. That's really good advice, actually. I think for a first deal is because so many people want to find their first deal. And they want it to be a screamer, a screaming deal that will set them up for life. But those are so hard to find. And you will not get the experience you need for the second deal without the first deal. Right? You need to go through that first one way or another. So I love that advice. He said, go on the MLS, the multiple listing service. So go online, Zillow, or find a real estate agent who can start helping you find properties that could work for what you're looking to do. And then short-term rental through Airbnb or one way or another, be able to get that nice, consistent rental income. That sounds so. Is that what you did?
Well, I did it, but I didn't get the money to replace my paycheck, long story short.
Right. Right.
Oh man, this deal was Murphy's Law, Kate.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, to all the investors out there, if you guys are thinking about getting into real estate investing, I just have to say, make decisions based on numbers, not emotion.
Right.
Ask me how I know.
How do you know that, BreAnna?
All right. So one of my good friends, Chris Prasad, another community member, brought me this lead. It was listed for sale by owner, FSBO, on Zillow. And it was in Londonderry, Vermont at Magic Mountain. Well, Chris was in Arizona. He lives in New Jersey. Neither are in Vermont.
Right.
He was like, I need boots on the ground. Will you help me? And I was like, I don't want to say desperate, but looking back, I might have been desperate.
Eager. You were hungry. You
wanted the first deal. So I was like, of course I'm going to help you.
Yes.
So I was boots on the ground. I was the one conversing and having conversations with the owner, doing the negotiating on the price. Vermont is an attorney state. So I was the one that engaged an attorney, doing all the paperwork. I was the one doing the projections for the pro forma because it was supposed to be a vacation rental. So we had to make sure the exit strategy was lined up.
Say that part again, it's a little slower. You are doing the pro forma.
Oh, the pro forma. Yes, I did. I had to do all the financial projections, right? Understanding the market and the trends on the vacation rentals, occupancy, nightly rates. That way we could project forward. We wanted a full 12-month annualized projection model. That way we could see the seasonality of what the vacation rental would look like and what the income and cash flow would look like. And so I was responsible for that in this partnership. That's the kind of work I was doing.
Wow. That's quite a lot of work, to dig a little bit deep into when you're analyzing a deal, when you're putting together a pro forma, like you said, that is really making projections on the income, expenses. You're trying to see what can this property generate?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of trying to create a crystal ball.
Exactly.
A little bit to see into the future by using the data that's available to you now. And so how did you find this data to do this?
I purchased it through a website called AirDNA.
Nice.
And they basically just take all the public data out of Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking, all those sites. And then they allow you to extrapolate it and then use it to project forward. And it was cool because I was able to do it on different percentiles. So like I would use an average, like on average, if this is what we do, this is what we'll make, versus if we're below average, and then, if we do really, really well. And so my money lender who's actually who I'm staying with right now in Phoenix, Arizona.
Awesome.
Yeah, he loved that. He was like, I'm loving your numbers.
Nice.
But that was one of the first lessons learned the hard way is Vermont's an interesting state. And when you're looking at extrapolating public data like that, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Sure.
And let's just say the data was way wrong.
Quality of data is important. Quantity of data is important.
Yeah,
It's also very rural. And you get to the most like, for example, I'm in Brattleboro, Vermont. We're the big city of 11,000 people. So Londonderry, I think maybe a population 2,500 year-round residents. And then you're working with a seasonal market, home rental. So there's this intimate niche knowledge that goes into analyzing a short-term rental deal. So if anyone listening out there is considering a short-term rental deal, yes, the data is super important, but you've got to have good data. Are you asking the right questions about what does data really mean? And even if I'm missing some, how do you factor in that risk factor?
Yep. And I learned that one later after the fact. But then let's see, the next Murphy's Law that kind of got broken. I was working with a mortgage broker to try to help me secure the financing on it. And me not knowing what I didn't know, I wasn't doing my diligence with him. I didn't follow up. I take full responsibility.
You don't know.
I sure didn't, Kate. I didn't
know what you don't know. So
but
you can't be up too bad.
1 week before closing was scheduled, I learned that Mr. Mortgage Broker was unable to secure financing on the condo. I had already passed the financing contingency, of course.
Oh, man.
I had no way out. And at the time, I had put $5,000 earnest money down. And at the time, even still, $5,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And I was like, I can't afford to lose $5,000 right now. I was still in a victim lacking mindset. And I was also all about, I can't lose my money.
Sure, of course.
And so at that point, it was, what can I do to make this work? So I went back to my community, and the way that we're structured, we have different masterminds based on basically different exit strategies. So we've got a short-term rental mastermind, which is where I learned how to establish and set up and manage the rental. We have multifamily, fix and flip, but then I went into the money mastermind, and that's where you learn how to raise capital. And I was like, this is what I need to do right now.
Right. Yes. Yep.
So I ended up partnering with an investor who helped me raise most of the capital. The purchase price was $180. We were able to raise $165 in 1 week, which wasn't too shabby.
It's pretty good.
And I brought the difference plus closing costs out of my personal savings, which was supposed to be the reserve for the rental. I didn't think about that at the time. I just knew I had to close.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we owned the condo, we closed, and I had to renovate it because it hadn't been touched since it was built in 1984.
Right.
And
So,
it looked every bit like 1984.
Yeah. And with the short-term rental, it's a little bit different from a long-term rental. Condition and appearance and marketing, it's not necessarily as based on demand as long-term rental is. Short-term rental, you got to sell it. It's got to be beautiful.
You sure do. And so we closed in September. And Vermont ski season was December is when people want to get out there. So I'm like, okay, I got 3 months to make this happen. What do I do? So I just started calling every contractor I knew, asking for referrals. And then I learned the hard way that they were booked like 6 to 8 months out.
Because you were in the pandemic. We're talking, this was 2022?
Yeah, 22.
So end of the pandemic, however, for those listening, because everyone's listening from all over the country, Vermont was very, maybe not most unique, but very unique in the fact that there's very low service providers and contractors in our state to start with. And then we had the pandemic where we had a massive boom of real estate happened to us, 20% year over year appreciation. We had inventory that went down to almost nothing. The demand was so high. So contractors were in extremely high demand. And many people came up against this. Wow, I cannot get someone to come out and paint my front steps for 12 months.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what you were in.
That's exactly
Aye,
where
aye,
I.
aye.
So then it was, figuring it out. What do I do? So I went back to my community and I was like, hey team, I need help. What do I do? So this girl, Tammy, she said, well, I actually know a contractor who's out of work right now and he would probably be willing to help you. And I was like, oh, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
This contractor lived in Indiana.
Okay.
This dude drove in his truck from Indiana to Vermont.
What? Oh my
And he
God.
fixed my condo in like 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was. But what was not amazing is I didn't know how to manage him.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know how to manage him or the budget. And I was like pulling my hair out because remember the Mr. Investor with the cash that I
Yes.
raised?
Yes.
I also had to refinance so I could pay him off because the
Right.
way it was structured, this is another mistake, a lesson learned the hard way. It was a 3-month bridge loan
Yep.
at 15% interest only with 6 months guaranteed payments. Not pretty, but it was literally my only option.
Yeah. So you essentially did a hard money loan.
Oh, I sure did. Yeah.
Yes. So these are usually short term, high interest. And yes, you've got to refinance quickly.
Yeah. So while I was trying to manage the contractor, buy all the stuff to furnish and decorate the rental when he's done renovating it, and managing the refinance with my bank all at the same time, I was just like going crazy, Kate.
And while working your W-2 job.
And while working, and it was during open enrollment season. So my W-2, I'm a health insurance consultant.
Yeah.
November, October timeframe. Oh man.
That's tough. Right.
It was insane. I don't know how I did it.
So let's fast forward to renovated.
Yeah.
Rent.
So yeah, renovated. He finished it. We went live on Airbnb, Vrbo, and Booking on December 16th of 22. We got our first booking less than 24 hours after we went live. And then all the bookings just kept coming in. We were completely booked out the entire first ski season.
Amazing.
It was beautiful. Yeah. So I was
beautiful.
Celebrating. I felt so proud of myself.
Absolutely.
But then that's where I realized my data was bomb.
And that's, yeah.
Ended. And the off season was not nearly as fruitful as I was expecting. I knew it was going to be less than ski season, but I think between April and November, I had 4 or 5 bookings tops that whole time.
Yeah, because your unit is on mountain essentially. So for anyone listening, when you're looking at a short-term rental, you've got to ask the question, what is the year-round feasibility? And that goes back to the most sacred of real estate tenants, which is location, location, location. And, sometimes you're kind of giving up, you have to have either a feast or famine mindset. You're on a ski mountain. That's going to be high volume during the on season, off season. Then we go into maybe a question of what could be a plan B? Can it be used as a midterm rental for traveling nurses?
Yeah.
Can it be transferred to a long-term rental?
And those are all things I did explore.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the data, that's the thing about data. It's about looking in the past. So you have to almost go through the experience to learn what you did.
Yeah, because the historical data I had, to your earlier point, was from the pandemic when there was this huge boom of vacation rentals in Vermont because nobody was working or going anywhere. They just wanted to go on vacation.
That's right. And we're 4 hours from New York City, 2 hours from Boston. So everyone that was living in the cities in this time who could suddenly work remotely and their kids could go to school remotely came up to Vermont.
So it was great data, but it was not indicative of what happened in the future.
Wow. That's a tough situation to go through. You're going through these ups and downs. How did you come out of this?
Well, in consultation with my mentor and financial advisor, Zach, just looked at the numbers. Then we decided we need to sell it. We just learned too many lessons the hard way on the front end, and we couldn't bring in enough cash flow to cover the debt, and it just didn't make sense. It did make sense for other people if they bought it at the right price, but we spent more than we should have, and we just couldn't keep up with the debt. So we had to list it. And that was a great process. And spoiler alert to our listeners, Kate helped me with that.
Well, it was so interesting to look at this from a different perspective, a perspective of an agent, as a real estate agent looking at your listing. But you went through hell. And so when you're in the middle of feeling that pressure and the feeling of, it didn't go the way that you had thought it would, and when that happens, you can feel like a failure. But when I was looking at it from the outside, what I saw was a property that had been renovated, rented successfully, and well maintained, and came with a property management company. So for me, that was like, wow, this is an easy sell. This is like turnkey, renting, great location. And we were in the middle of ski season when that happened. So I knew that there were buyers looking. I knew that there was cash buyers out there. And you did buy in a location that would appeal to not just investors. It appeals to the kind of the regular buyer who's looking for a second home in Vermont that's affordable for them to use on the weekends. Because, again, we've got very wealthy people that come to visit here every year from New York and Boston. And for them, $250,000 is chump change. So, it was great that I think the best lesson from this, what I'm hearing, is you always went back to your mentors. You always went back to the people that were supporting you, had experience, and could help you in that moment, and also in a very non-judgmental way, because that's the way that they learned that lesson was very similar to the way you learned that lesson.
I have learned to embrace that there's a lot that I don't know. And so that's where I say it a lot. Hey, teamwork makes the dream work, because I can't do all this by myself.
Right. And now we're talking about the fortune part, right? You tell us how that went when we listed it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. You were amazing to work with, you and Craig both. I think we started getting offers less than a week after we went live with the listing. And we literally got exactly what we asked for. They gave us the $235 cash, no inspection, no contingencies. And then the cherry on top, because they were just going to take over what we had and use it as a rental as well. So he was like, would you guys be interested in staying on as cleaners? Because we were cleaning it ourselves anyway.
Yeah.
So we ended up creating this new agreement with the new owner. And now we've got a new income stream from doing something that we were doing for free before.
Right.
And it's created this really fruitful partnership between the two of us. Like every single time we turn that condo over, he reminds us how grateful he is to have us.
That's amazing.
And I'm just like, I love that he loves this place so much.
That's right. Because yes, we want to take the emotion out of real estate. But I think when you can lean into that a little bit in how you build the relationships within real estate, that is when it becomes very fulfilling, right? Because you do care, and he cares, and your mentors care, because they know how hard this business is. And I think when you've been through quite a bit of the ups and downs and have been able to come up through it because someone helped you, gave you really good advice, you pass that on.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you have to give love to get love, I like to say.
You do. And so you sold that successfully. How has that impacted to where you are now? And where are you now in your journey? Firing your boss? What's next? Tell us what's going on.
So with the sale of Trailside, we made about $52,000. So we were able to use that to pay off some of the debt that we acquired on the front end on the acquisition. And we still have enough left over. I have 14 months reserve in my business bank account, which was my whole 2024 goal. And I've now got it accomplished, and we're in March. So that is a huge weight off of my chest.
Amazing. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. And so now what I'm doing is understanding the importance of reserve. I'm trying to teach other investors who want to get into their deals as well, the importance of reserve through big check strategies versus the passive income through cash flow strategies, because that's where I messed up. I got into cash flow strategy without having the reserve in the bank, and it was so painful.
And I think so many are drawn to that because that is where the most sexy,
it looks really
easy, right? I'm a guru and cash flow. It's all about cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And yes, it is there, of course. But I think, yes, absolutely. If you're in a long-term growth mindset, I always say real estate is you get rich slow.
Yes.
Not get rich quick.
That's another lesson I learned the hard way, by the way.
Yeah. But the important thing is you pushed through. I mean, if you could say to your old self what you know now, or to anyone listening thinking about getting into real estate, what is the biggest piece of advice you could give?
Never give up. Honestly, I was once insulted for being tenacious, and now that's one of my biggest strengths.
Yes. Yes. And you didn't take no for an answer. Even though the financing company said, no, the financing is coming through. You didn't say, I'm just going to lick my wounds, lose my $5,000 deposit, walk away and never do real estate again. You did not take no for an answer. You went and fought tenaciously to figure it out, and fought tenaciously for years to get through this. And look at you now on the other side.
I know.
For a profit.
It's beautiful. And I'm teaching other people how to not make the same mistakes I'm doing.
That's exactly, yes. And now you can talk to people, mentor people. So tell us about Provian and Finko and what you're working with.
So Provian is my real estate investing company, I guess my holding company, the top of the umbrella. But now after the sale of Trailside, I'm really focused on what I call Finko. My financial independence company is what that stands for. And so I'm training my team inside of one of those masterminds. I host and facilitate our social media marketing mastermind. And so I am training investors how to leverage social media to get direct to seller so that we can try to get creative, lower that entry point, because that was one of the first mistakes I made. But again, going back to teamwork makes the dream work, all they have to do is make the introduction. So they're making the point of contact with the seller. They have the conversation, collect the information and pictures so that the more experienced investors, we can look at it, dig into the numbers, figure out, is it a deal? Is it not a deal? Right. And then if it is a deal, the plan is we're going to wholesale it. And I'm very aware a lot of people probably don't even know what that means.
Yes, wholesaling, it's a term that's used, it's kind of thrown around a lot, can mean a lot of different things. But in terms of real estate, work, tell us exactly how it is you make money in a wholesale deal.
So for wholesaling, what we're doing is we're scouting leads, property leads, and getting them under contract directly with the seller. And then basically using our network to link that property to the appropriate end buyer.
Right.
And so understanding our network and who, a buy box, that's another investor term. Everybody has a buy box. So they might want a single family or a multi-family, or they might want to be in the city or in rural Vermont. They can afford $100,000 or $500,000. So we take all of that and then try to match the appropriate property with the appropriate investor. And so that's what wholesaling is. You're assigning that contract from one person to the other.
Right.
And that's what I'm
network. You're putting people together.
But the way that we've got it structured, I love, love, love it, because it is zero risk, like no risk for the very new, that have no idea what I'm doing kind of investor.
Right.
So you get in and I'll train you how to get direct to seller. But then everybody's like, what do I do when I get it under contract?
Right.
But that's where our investor partners come in. And so once you identify the property, get the information we need. You make the introduction to our investor partners. They're the ones that negotiate with the homeowner. So you don't even have to know anything about real estate deals or numbers. They're going to help you with that. They're going to be the ones to get it under contract. If it's a title state, we've got our team at title that can help us. If it's an attorney state, we've got attorney partners that we can work with. So we'll run the whole escrow process. We do the marketing on the disposition so that we can find that in-cash buyer. And then ultimately, that's that. Like, the investor partners do all the work from A to Z. And when it closes, whatever we make, that lead generator makes 25% just for making the introduction.
Right.
So when we first set this up, it was probably about 6 months ago now, we got a $40,000 assignment fee on a deal. And so the lead generator on that made $10,000 just for talking to the homeowner.
Right.
That's all he did. I don't want to say that's all he did, because you do have to know how to talk to people.
Right.
So you have to be an effective communicator. You have to listen for the pain. You have to understand why they need to sell, because that's going to be important for the negotiation and getting it under contract, right? And so it is a partnership and it's a learning process, but we walk our lead generators through that so they can see the whole way. So this is how we got it under contract. This is what we did with escrow. This is how we cleared title. And then this is how we closed it.
Amazing.
And then the idea is that, again, no risk, they can learn along the way by looking over more experienced investor shoulders and then turn it into their own business model eventually.
Amazing.
And so that's where Finko comes into play, right? Is I'm teaching investors how to create their own financial independence so they too can fire their boss and live the life of their dreams, whatever that might mean to them.
Right. I love it. I love that, Brianna. That's fantastic. I think so. What I'm hearing from your story is you went through some of the most intense setbacks, failures, whatever you want to call them. But I don't know how you would be here today without going through that.
I wouldn't be. Yeah. I mean, I would just be in a different place, I guess. I would probably still be struggling looking for that first deal. I don't know.
I love the phrase, I want to fail faster, because it can accelerate you so much in your business by learning some really key yet hard lessons early on. Because if you have that tenacity, if you have a really big reason why you're doing it, you'll learn how to push through and you'll learn solutions and how to be creative and think outside the box, that you now have a tool in your tool belt to use for the next deal, and then the next deal. And
fail fast and fail forward is what I like to say.
Fail forward. Absolutely. I love it. So if people want to reach out to you and learn more about how to connect with you, how should they find you?
Honestly, my Facebook page is the best place. I do all my marketing on Facebook as the facilitator of the social media marketing mastermind. What else would you expect?
Right?
Perfect. So yeah, my personal Facebook is linked to my Provian Facebook page as well. And then that links out to my Provian Buys Houses website page. I also have my financial independence company linked on my personal Facebook page. So if you'll just search BreAnna Finko on Facebook, you can find everything else from there.
And we'll have the links directly to your Facebook in our show notes. So listeners, make sure you check out the show notes. Give BreAnna a follow. Reach out to her if you'd like to learn more about how to get involved with this wholesaling group and helping connect investor leads to then learn more about real estate investing and the masterminds. It's a great avenue for a first-time investor to get started in. So thank you, BreAnna, so much for your time. I've really enjoyed talking with you today, and I'm so glad you brought us through your journey, and we hope to have you on again in the future so we can keep hearing about how you evolve and grow in this business.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity and the invitation.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you, listeners. This is the Real Estate Investing Podcast, From Failures to Fortunes. I am Kate Berry, your host, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Real Estate Investing Failures to Fortunes podcast. If you enjoyed today's stories and insights, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us. Remember, your journey in real estate is a marathon, not a sprint. Embrace the failures, learn from them, and turn them into your stepping stones to success. I'm Kate Berry, and until next time, keep hustling, stay inspired, and keep turning those failures into fortunes. Happy investing.